What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Residual Earners Podcast, episode 42. And today, we want to dive into team culture. Do you have a team culture at your work? Whether you know it or not, you do. Is it positive? Is it negative? How do we improve it? Guys, we're going to answer all of these questions and more through the next 30, 45 minutes of this podcast. I'm Jordan.
I'm Presley.
And we are thrilled to be back for episode 42, talking about team culture.
Did you say 42?
42. Moving along.
Do you know that's only 10 away from 52?
I know. It's crazy, guys. Coming up on the year mark, and just how far this podcast has come in a year, and, it's just getting going.
Real quick, and I know everybody's not interested, but me being granddad, I am interested. We hadn't talked about hockey in a little while. Give them a little update on Grayson's hockey career at 7 years old.
No, he's doing well. He's playing in a AAA league and traveling all over the country and becoming a better person, learning a bunch of life lessons, learning some tough lessons. But, no, it's been going good. It's a lot of fun to watch him grow.
How is the difference between hockey here in Texas and hockey in Calgary?
He would still next year be playing third ice here. Very low. I don't want to say low quality, but it's just different. He's playing full ice up there. It's the highest level you can play in hockey. AAA hockey is the highest. So playing against the best competition from all over Canada, and they're on the ice 4, 5, 6 times a week, and it's an all-out push. Completely different practices here. All practices are drill-based. There, you have a full sheet of ice, and you run actual team practices like college, like pro levels, like the NHL run. So it's it's awesome.
So let me see if I got this right. So here you're playing sideways, basically, on the ice, and you got 3 games going at one time.
Correct.
There, he's playing on the same size ice that the Calgary Flames or the Dallas Stars are playing on. I mean, they're playing a full game.
Correct. And playing all of the same rules, the NHL. I'm sure there's, obviously there's no fighting. There's a few small things like that are different. Obviously, at their age, there's no checking, but, offsides, icing, all the same penalties. If you mess up, you're going to the box. The refs are on it, and, they're it's fun to watch.
Does he feel kind of big time doing it that way?
It looks like he feels big time. He loves to. He watches the pros and does exactly what they do.
I love it. Well, all right, guys. That way you got a 2-minute update on Grayson's hockey career. We may be doing this another 10 years from now, talking about, him fixing to play in the NHL or something. I mean, there's no telling.
We'll see. The kid's got talent to do whatever he wants, but, from just you being an athlete, Nick and I being athletes, it's one of those things that the kid's got the talent to go as far as he wants, but it's up to him, and he's got to want it, and he's got to work hard, and if he wants to go get it, I think he can get it. If he doesn't want to, then he doesn't. And it's his journey to kind of write the chapters.
All right. I'm gonna give you an unexpected curveball here.
Okay.
You got to play for who I think was one of the best college coaches ever, and Pat Murphy. Talk real quick about, you're talking about culture. Talk about the culture of that team, because that team had a very unique culture.
Definitely. No, Murph, Coach Murph is now the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, took them to the playoffs this year, and he had a very unique style of getting everybody on the same page, pulling the rope the same way, through team building activities early in the year. We went to Camp Tonazona and hung out for a weekend with the team as well. And he very much got everybody on the same page, doing the same stuff to, achieve success. He very much broke it down into, each player, their position, and that person knew exactly what they had to do to overall help the team and the success of the team. And, we never had any issues. We had some goofy things come up that the guys got into fights with one another over, but overall there were never any major issues. Guys did what they were supposed to on the field, off the field. I don't think we ever, in my whole time at ASU, I don't think we ever had an off the field issue. So it all starts with the leader, trickles down from there, but everybody has to know their part in that organization. Whatever organization you're with has to know their part and what they are supposed to do to help the overall team succeed.
Yeah, I just know I love the culture that Coach Murphy had. Obviously, me being an old coach, I really enjoyed watching how he ran team meetings and practices and all that stuff. And, guys, I'm telling you right now that the difference between a good team and a great team, I believe, is culture. The difference between a good business and a great business, I believe, is the culture that team develops. I'm just telling you, I am big on culture. I've read the book, a good book, if you're wanting a good book on this, is Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. I love culture. Now, being a coach, I always had a culture on my team, and I always worked on the culture of the team. And Jordan and I have had multiple businesses now, and culture on those teams and on those companies are key with us. So I'm a big believer in culture, Jordo, and I think you are as well.
Well, like I said in the intro, you have a culture whether you know it or not, and it's either positive or negative. And again, like I said with Coach Murph, it all starts with the leader and what the leader is putting in and the expectations that are set and, the knowledge transfer to each person in the organization to, set that expectation of what you want your culture to be.
Absolutely. Well, all right, kick us off. 3. By the way, if you hear me call him 3, he was number 3 from the time he was playing for the Y all the way through Arizona State. So he's been number 3 his career in baseball. So sometimes I just go number 3. Hey, 3. If I don't call him 3, I usually call him Jordo. So that's where all that came from, by the way. By the way, he became Jordo because he was on a team with 2 other guys named Jordan. So we had to figure out who was who. So he became Jordo. That way everybody could distinguish who everybody was talking about.
Definitely.
I don't know if anybody was interested in any of that stuff or not, but there you
go. Guys, when starting culture at, your workplace with your team, whether you own a business or just you have people reporting to you or, work for somebody else, whatever it may be, I think the first important step in creating culture is writing it out and defining what you want that culture to be.
No, I tend to agree. And Jordan said it earlier. You're either going to have culture by design, what he's talking about now, or by default. It's just going to happen. And if you don't develop the culture you want, it's going to be like weeds in a garden that you're not taking care of. The weeds are going to start taking over, and you're not going to have the culture that you want. You're going to have a bunch of weeds. And I think it is key to have culture. And I jotted down, a few things that I think are important as far as team culture goes. And if you want to, we can go over some of those.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, I think one of the big keys for team culture is high energy. I think you've got to develop a sense that, everybody's working hard, everybody's upbeat, everybody's positive, everybody is in the game. I think the energy that you bring is going to be huge. And Jordan said it, everything rises and falls with leadership. I mean, that's a John Maxwell saying. I mean, everything rises and falls with leadership. So it's going to come down from you as the leader, what kind of culture you're going to develop with your company. When we had the car dealerships, my gosh, we worked hard on our team culture. And I'll say this, as we ended up with, in the end, we had 7 dealerships. It gets harder and harder to really keep that culture as you get bigger and bigger. That's why it is so key that if you've got a smaller company right now, then you really want to develop that culture, because as it grows, you can stick in with that culture. I mean, it'll kind of hang in there. If you have a weak culture when you're little, you'll totally lose it as the company gets bigger and bigger. But I think high energy is a key as far as wanting a successful company.
Definitely. No, you got to have the energy. You got to have the positive outset, because we can all think of, managers, leaders in the past that have kind of killed culture. And, I'm sure each and every one of you on here can think of an example where, you were excited about something and then, talk to a leader, talk to a manager, and that excitement gets crushed, culture gets crushed, and, it ends up working as a negative for the team than a positive.
No, absolutely. And, one of the other things that I think is big is to have a culture of having fun. Yeah. Think about this, guys. I'm sure you can relate to this. I have been with people where we could be digging a ditch out in the 95-degree heat, but we were having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we somehow we just made it fun, and being with those folks, it was just fun. I mean, you could be working hard, but you were having fun, and that's the culture that I want. I mean, we all want to work hard, especially when you've got a company. Everybody has to be working hard. That's not even an option. But I'm telling you, you can work hard and be having fun. When we had the car dealerships, my gosh, I'd be walking in and I'd be smiling and high-fiving everybody, and we'd be talking and having a good time, and I'd ask them how the family is and all that. But we were working hard, and they knew I expected them to work hard. But you can have fun while you're working hard, guys. And I think that is a culture that you wanted to develop on, whether it's a sports team or whether it's your company. We want to be having fun while we're working hard. Now, I'm guessing y'all I know y'all worked your butt off for Murph, but I'm guessing you had a pretty good time while you were doing it as well.
Definitely. We had the best time. And again, that's just through, what Coach Murphy created. But, a statistic is that companies, organizations with positive culture, where people show up to work with a positive mindset, have 20% more production than companies with a negative culture. I mean, that's massive, which in a lot of cases, that's the difference in, having a positive bottom line and, going out of business. 20%'s
20%, I would say you can go out of business over 20% most of the time.
So, I think that just speaks to the importance of what we're talking about today is, it is key, guys.
Well, and I think another thing that we want to be pushing hard for culture-wise is having a culture of learning and growing.
No.
Having a culture of learning and growing. I'm going to give all you folks a tidbit on if you're wanting to move up in a company. Let's, and I'm kind of going off the reservation here, but just here's 3 quick tips for somebody that's trying to work their way up the corporate ladder, let's say, or the business ladder, because Jordan and I have had and still do have multiple businesses, so we get this. But I'm telling you, you need to have that culture of learning and growing. Everybody on your team should be trying to bring more value to the marketplace. Everybody on your team should try to be increasing their skills, knowledge, and abilities. That should be something you are fostering as a team, that the culture is we increase our skills, knowledge, and abilities. We bring more value to the marketplace. Now, for your team members, then think this through. If you're going to give somebody a raise, it's review time. Am I going to give somebody the bigger raise that's increasing their skill, knowledge, and ability and bringing me more value to the marketplace, or somebody that's not? Well, obviously, I'm going to give the bigger raise to the ones that's increasing their skills, knowledge, and abilities. So the other thing is, always have the culture of you do more than you're paid for. Because here's why I say that, especially for the team members. Get this. If Jordan and I are going to promote somebody, we got a position that opened up, we're going to promote somebody. Are we going to promote somebody that's doing just enough to get by, or somebody that's exceeding expectations? Somebody that's doing a little more than we're paying them for? Well, of course, we're going to promote the person that's doing a little bit more. You can start developing this culture of doing that. The other culture you really want to develop on your team is being problem solvers. You want to develop the culture of being problem solvers at your company, because if you've got people on staff, on your team, that are problem solvers, my gosh, it makes life so much easier, because a problem comes up on your company, and you got somebody that's thinking about it, and they figure out a solution. Guys, let me get this straight with you. The people that can solve bigger problems are worth a whole lot more to you. So just some little things that just came to the top of my head there is, you want to bring more value to the marketplace. We want to have that culture. We want to increase our skills, knowledge, and abilities. We want to have the culture of doing more than we're getting paid for. We're going to exceed expectations, and we want to have the culture of being problem solvers. If we will bring that attitude to our team, and they pick up on that attitude, and they've got that, I'm telling you, it makes your life so much easier as the leader, the boss, the owner, whatever you happen to be. If you've got people that have a culture of doing that stuff, I'm telling you, it is amazing. But learning and growing is a big deal, and we really want to be teaching that. Jordan and I, we even talked about, when we had the car dealership, of paying people to go back and get a different degree or something. Anything that we felt like could improve them, which would help us, we were all in on the learning and growing.
Definitely. Some other ways to, build a good team culture is letting everybody's voice be heard. You can't let everybody run the company 100%, but you can let people's voice be heard, let their thoughts be heard. You probably won't use 80% of the stuff that's told to you, but that other 20% can be a game changer, because you have troops in the field. You have people that are they're on the floor with customers. They're hearing everything. They know exactly how things are running, and there's quite a bit of degrees of separations in a lot of company between a CEO, owner, COO, and the actual, whoever at the car dealership was cleaning cars, or working with customers directly. And so being able to hear those thoughts, those opinions, take the constructive criticism and make plans to address those needs. It takes somebody, and once they feel empowered and they feel like they actually do care about me, that production goes north quickly.
Absolutely. We always have had, and as long as I'm going to be around, and I think Jordan too, we've had an open door policy. If you've got something you want to talk to us about, come on in. Come on in. And like Jordan said, I'm not going to guarantee you I'm going to do what you're recommending, but I'm certainly going to listen to you, because I want to know, because you're in the trenches. You know what's going on. So we wanted that open door. We wanted to hear the thoughts of the employees. That was something that we wanted to develop as one of our team cultures, is to let people know that their voice is heard. Now, again, I can't guarantee we're going to do what you recommend, but I am going to certainly listen to you and think it through. And, I'm going to throw this in here, probably doesn't really fit right here, but, I was one of those guys that when I walked on the dealership, if there was trash out in the parking lot, you know what I was doing? I was picking up some trash. I mean, if the bathroom needed to be tidied up and the custodian wasn't around, I can tidy a bathroom up. I wanted my team to see that I will do whatever it takes to keep this thing going, to make us the best we can be. And I think if as a leader, if you will show that willingness to get your hands a little bit dirty every once in a while, I'm not saying spend all your time in the bathroom or spend all your time walking around picking up trash, because as the CEO or the president or the owner of the company, you got a lot of stuff you got to be doing, but they do need to understand that you don't feel like you are too good to be helping and too good to be doing and too good to be picking up, because I believe that made a big difference. Another thing, and I told you this a while back, Jordan, I'd go out into the service area where the techs were, and I'd be walking around talking to them, and it would be almost like they were in awe that I would be out there where they were. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'm coming out here. Well, we just don't usually see owners out here in the service area. Well, I'm not too good to be walking around out here. I want to get to know you a little bit. Just because you're out here doesn't mean I don't want to get to know you. And I got to know their families and all that sort of stuff. And people will say sometimes, well, you don't really want to get too close to somebody, because what if you got to reprimand them or fire them or something like that? Well, to me, that's just part of it. I mean, I'm not going to distance myself from everybody just in case that at some point in time I got to reprimand somebody. I mean, I want to get to know people. I believe you're going to bring the best out of people if you're in the trenches, if you're with them, if you're talking to them. And I think that culture is so big that if the leadership will listen to the folks that are in the trenches, I'm just telling you, that is huge.
Definitely. So kind of leading into this next point on culture, when somebody, you mentioned earlier about doing more than what they're paid to do, going above and beyond. The next big thing to team culture is awards and recognition for those people who are doing more than what they should, or guys that are doing an exceptional job at what they're doing, hitting their KPIs, whatever it may be. But, recognition, and I know you got some good sayings on recognition, but recognition is key. Everybody wants some recognition, no matter how big or small. So recognition is key to building a team culture.
Well, let's get real. We all like a pat on the back. I mean, I don't care if you're the custodian or the CEO of the company. We all like a pat on the back. I mean, let's get real. Here's the thing about recognition, though. You need to be recognizing the things that you want your team doing. So if you're wanting your team to be let's say you're wanting them to be problem solvers. Well, by golly, if somebody solves a problem, my gosh, when you're with a group, point out and give them a high five that, hey, Sally, she helped us solve this problem. Way to go, Sally. That's awesome. My buddy Randy Hedge says that babies cry for it and grown men die for it. We all love recognition. If you're one of your team cultures is, that you want us to all have a positive attitude. Well, when somebody exhibits a positive attitude, say something positive about it. I mean, recognize them for it. If it's all about the customer and somebody goes above and beyond helping a customer out, then recognize them for it. Whatever you're wanting your company to do, whatever you're wanting those team members to do, when somebody does it, recognize them about it, because then everybody else is going to want to do it too, because everybody else is going to want to get that attaboy. I just think that's a big deal, is like Jordan said, recognizing the cultures that you want to develop within your company.
Definitely. I think another big key to team culture is, creating a safe place for people's thoughts, to listen to people's problems, and caring about people over dollars.
Well, it's got to be people first. I mean, let's get real. If you don't have the team members, you're not going to have a company. And I think it is so key, and, I don't even know if this fits here or not, but be slow to hire. Be slow to hire. Make sure you're getting the right people on the team when you're hiring folks, guys. Don't just be quick hiring people and you just get them in there and you hope they work out. Spend a little time with them. Get to know people a little bit. You might even want to do a culture index on people to see what their personality traits are like. But I'm telling you, you got to get people that get along, because one of your team cultures should be a collaborative attitude.
Definitely.
We've got to collaborate because we're going to be working together. Even if you're in different departments, there's going to be where those sets overlap a little bit, and you're going to have to get along, and you're going to have to talk through some stuff. And you want to have that attitude of we're going to collaborate with each other, and that culture of having that is so key of people getting along. And understand, when you have a big company or even a small to mid-sized company, you're going to have some disagreements. But here's the deal. You got to have the attitude that we're going to agree to disagree. We're going to disagree agreeably. And I think that is something that we've got to come across with. We're not going to have any of this. And, I mean, that was one of the big things with the car dealerships with Jordan and I is that, okay, you can disagree, but we're going to get along. There's no options on getting along. I mean, it's just that is non-negotiable with us. We're going to all be one big happy family. And again, when you got something going on like a business, you're going to have some disagreements occasionally, but we're going to get along while we're disagreeing. We'll talk it out, and then we'll figure out a solution that's going to work out best for the company.
So this next question, which we have about 7 more minutes here. This will be a little bit of a curveball, but thinking about it from the flip perspective, if you were working at a company for someone with a bad culture, what do you do?
So I'm working for a company that has bad culture?
Correct.
Oh.
How do you, is there a way to change it? Or is it something that you got to make a commitment to either say I'm going to deal with it or I've had enough and going to go find a company with a positive workplace experience?
Well, if let's say you're a manager of a department, I can have a different culture in my department than I do with the whole company.
Yeah.
I mean, my department can have a good culture, even though the culture of the entire company is not good, because I'm the leader of that, and I can start developing the culture I want in my department. But I'm going to say overall, if a company's got a sucky culture, I'm probably looking for another job.
Yeah.
I mean, I just probably am. I may be where it all depends on where you are in the food chain too, because if I'm up higher, I got a little more influence on what's going on. If I'm down here somewhere, it's going to be hard for me to influence the culture of the whole company. And if I walk in and nobody has any fun, nobody gets along, the culture is not of performing, the culture is not of having high energy, the culture, and I just walk in and I feel terrible every time I walk in the doors, and I dread going to work because, like I said a while ago, you can have fun digging a ditch if it's with the right culture and the right people and everybody's kind of pulling the right way. I mean, I've done some tough jobs and had a good time and actually enjoyed going. But I've also had some jobs that were easier, and I didn't like what I was doing because the culture sucked.
Yeah.
And if the culture is not going to change, and I don't have a way to change the culture, I'm probably looking for a different employment, if you will.
But before that, I think you should talk to your boss about hiring the residual earners to come in and do a team meeting. Talk to the entire team.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
We can get that fixed.
We can do that. Yeah. No.
So one more, kind of the last big question I have. What are some of the common pitfalls that you've seen in the past that create a negative work environment?
I think, my biggest pet peeve and the thing that I think creates more issues than anything else is a bad attitude. If people have a bad attitude, I don't care how good you are at your job, I'm not interested in you.
Yeah.
And we sit down in the conference room with many people when we were thinking about hiring them. And if somebody came across with a sucky attitude, I don't care what your resume says. I don't care how good you are. So if I'm around negative people, if I'm around people that have a poor attitude, if I'm running the company, you're not going to be around long.
Definitely.
I mean, it's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. I mean, it's the inflection you put on stuff. It's how you handle it if you get your feathers ruffled a little bit. I mean, it's just so much about attitude, because I think it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that'll ultimately determine your altitude. If you've got a good attitude, I can teach you what I need to teach you. Most times.
Yeah.
If your attitude sucks, it's hard to teach somebody out of a bad attitude. Now, if they're already there, say when I buy a company, I'm going to give them some attaboy talks, and I'm going to work with them, and I'm going to give them what I can give them to try to get them on the right path and get their attitude to change. But at some point in time, either you start making a change of attitude, or I'm going to make a change of person. I mean, I'm going to get somebody else in that spot, because to me, a bad attitude makes it where I'm not enjoying coming to work. I mean, when I walk in and somebody's got a sucky attitude, it just kind of puts a damper on the whole department. I mean, you can just feel it.
Yeah.
That there's a bad attitude flowing right there. And again, I think it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that'll ultimately determine your altitude, at least when you're dealing with me.
I also think that the easiest way in an interview process to figure out if somebody's positive or negative is to start talking about asking them about their last job and why they're making the change. Because there's very polite and respectful ways of talking about why you're moving to why you're looking for a different role. And then, most people just flat out go after them. and you kind of know what you're getting into at that point. But, guys, today's podcast, I think there's been a lot of quality talking about team culture and the importance of team culture and the benefits, productivity-wise of team culture. And it's one of those things that in anything we do as a non-negotiable, it's a non-starter, team culture. It starts with team culture, and it is up to us as the leaders to make sure that that's implemented and taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I wrote out a bunch of things on team culture, but I'm going to tell you that when you're trying to develop that culture, write down, you want to have a culture of high energy. You want to have a culture of productivity. You want to have a culture of people having fun. You want to have a culture of being transparent. You want to have a culture of people getting along and being a team player. You want to have a culture of, make a list of the things you want your team to exhibit or your company to exhibit. I can just think off HubSpot, Google, IBM when Tom Watson was there, Apple somewhat. Just companies that you hear people bragging about their culture. And, your company can have an amazing culture too. But I'll say this, I really believe that you can have a good company with okay culture, but you won't have a great company with okay culture. I think you've got to have that culture. And I'll say this, like Maxwell says, that everything rises and falls from leadership. It's going to start down. It's going to have that trickle-down effect from you. So understand, it is coming from the leader. And if you're the leader of the department, then that department is going to follow your lead. If you're the leader of the whole company, then that whole company is going to follow your lead. So you're going to be the tone setter, the culture setter. You're going to be the one that just gets it all permeating down through the entire organization. So be the leader, guys. I'm telling you, and set the culture. Because again, you'll either have culture by design or by default. You want to design your culture.
Definitely. No. Well, guys, again, any thoughts, suggestions, leave down in the comments below. Make sure and hit that like button. Subscribe to us, guys. We want to keep this thing growing. It's rocking right now. So hit that subscribe. We thank everybody for jumping on episode 42 of the Residual Earners Podcast. And happy to do it.
Having fun.
That's it. Awesome.
Love you.
Thank you, guys.